Welcome to the Heroic Minds podcast, where we uncover the heroic stories of individuals battling through adversity and rising to the top of professional sport, business, and life, uncovering the characteristics, the secrets, the tactics to become the hero of your own story, because it is adversity that maximizes human potential. Welcome back to the Heroic Minds podcast. On today's episode, we have Chris Miranda, ex-pro golfer, athlete, right when he got married, was about to have his first child, just purchased a golf course that he worked at since he was 11. He said he had it all. It didn't matter how much money he made, he had it all. And that's when he noticed some tingling in his hands and his feet. Months later, he loses the use of his hands and his feet due to Guillain-Barré Syndrome, a rare disorder where the body's immune system attacks the nerves and the layer that protects the nerves, which then affects the ability to transmit signals to the muscles. So Chris goes from having it all to experiencing now a different life, an inability to do many things he always pictured himself doing as a father, teaching his kids to play catch and showing them through him throwing the football, to now having to do many things in a different way, things he never thought he would ever have to do, or things he never thought he wouldn't be able to do. So going from having it all to now a different life than he ever imagined, he's actually been able to get back to a point where he now feels as if he has it all again. And that's what the story we're going to talk about today. We're actually also going to get into what exactly it is and the different types that exist out there of Guillain-Barré Syndrome. We're also going to move into an opportunity Chris has realized he has. So this thing that he's been dealt with in life, he's actually found a bunch of different ways where he's been able to look at it as if it's an opportunity. And one of those opportunities was the ability to save a younger person going through the exact same thing and being able to not diagnose, but have a hunch that this young individual may have something similar to him, forced them to go to the hospital. And I'll leave it at that point because Chris is going to tell the story in this episode. So he's had an ability to affect people's lives in a way that he really didn't have the ability to before. And he's found this opportunity in such a unfortunate situation. And that is, again, what has helped get him back to feeling as if he has it all. Before we get going, True Local. You know what I noticed? I actually reached out to them because they put sticky notes in all my boxes that are delivered to my house with their awesome product. And there's a sticky note with a little message on it. And I reached out and said, hey, does everyone get that, or are you just doing that for me? And they actually take the time to put a sticky note letter in everyone's box that's ordered. And I think that's awesome. So awesome company, truelocal.ca. Check them out. High quality meat, individually packaged, sent right to your doorstep. Frozen. It's awesome. And it stays frozen for 4 days, even if you leave it on your porch. They've got dry ice in there that's doing its job, and it's pretty awesome. So check them out. I keep getting surprises of different meat and different products they have. Everything they have is amazing. So if you want to give them a test run, I have a discount code HeroicMinds25, all capital letters, to get you $25 off a regular size box. And the other cool thing is you don't have to do it every month. You can get them to deliver it every month in 15 days, every month in 18 days. So it's totally up to you how often you want your box delivered. Check them out, truelocal.ca. We've never done it on a golf course outside on a beautiful day, so this is good. Where, growing up, where were you in life when things right before kind of adversity?
Kind of right before?
Yeah.
I had the world by the ass. I'll admit, just married Carla, and we wanted to have a family right away, and we were fortunate enough to get pregnant right away. We had just bought the golf course. We got married December 31st, and we closed the deal of the golf course on January 6th. Now we had negotiated all of the previous year, but it was official January 6th. So 6 days later, I now own my business that I've worked in since I was 11 years old. I've always worked at a golf course. And I got a wife, and 6 weeks later we're pregnant, which is exactly what we wanted to happen, and there's lots that can't. So I'm thinking, holy shit, like I'm the top of the world, man. I could make $1, I can make $1 million, and I don't care because I am right where I want to be. Went out, played hockey, men's league hockey, in I guess it'd be mid-September, and literally kind of doing warm-ups or whatever, and kind of one foot kept giving out. And I'm looking for tape on my feet or skate or whatever, a little something on my blade. And of course, all the guys are like, "Fuck's wrong with you, Miranda? Like, let's go. What's happening?" I'm like, I don't know. I got to get them resharpened or something like that. What do you take the skate guards off? And started and center, and puck goes down their end for like 30 seconds. I'm in the high slot. Guy sends it out. I lifted my stick for a one-timer. I fell flat on my face. And I'm like, what is going on? I just put my hand on the puck, shoved it in the corner, made my way to the bench, and I'm like, boys are like, you all right? I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm out of here before I hurt myself. We're 40 seconds into the new season. So I grabbed the key and I left and came home, and I was like, oh, how's hockey? And I'm like, not very good. I just out of shape, and she's picking on me like the guys were, and I'm like, no, something's up. And then I started getting tingling in my tips of my fingers.
But at that point, when you're playing on the ice, though, what, like, athletically, your background was?
I played hockey my whole life. Played AAA my whole life. Played junior. Be a little bit down Niagara for the old Niagara Falls Thunder. There was no reason that I should have been falling down.
Mm-hmm.
Played golf my whole life. Played rep baseball as a kid. Played high school baseball on the baseball team. Very athletic. Played golf since I was 11 years old. Turned pro when I was 19. Very athletic. No reason at all that I should be falling down, just kind of skating down the ice.
Mm-hmm.
And then 6 weeks later was diagnosis. But yeah, the kind of short-term year leading up to diagnosis of GBS.
Mm-hmm.
That summer, I probably played the best golf I'd ever played. Tried to qualify for the Canadian Open. Tried to qualify for the nationwide event when it was at Whistler Golf Club. Played great. Missed qualifying both by 1 or 2. Had a couple of bad holes, nerves, whatever. I was on the road to stardom in my own head, but loving life. It was right where I wanted to be in my world.
So there was nothing before this day at the rink?
Zero. There was, it was our first year owning the business, so we worked a ton, right? Like, it's our own business. We want to make changes, that sort of thing. There was no fatigue. There was no issues. There was no pain. There was no problems. Like, there was zero problems. And like I say, mid-September, whatever the date was, okay, see you later, hon. I'm going to play men's league. All right, drive safe coming home. And down I went, and I'm like, what is up? There was zero-ish. I played, I guess, mid-September, so once I'd fallen a few times on the ice, we had our last few events of the local club pros, tour. Like, we have a little tour that we play on, and I was number 2 on the tour. I think my highest round was 71 over 4 or 5 events. We had 2 events left to play, and about a week after I was falling, I went out and I was 90, and of course now all the local pros are all buddies, and we're all in the same gig.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're all over me, and maybe we'll give you a lesson later on, and I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. Then the pins and needles started in the fingertips. Pins and needles started in the feet. Played another event, shot 92, and went from 2nd on the money list to like 26th on the money list.
So at that point, you pushed the tingling aside as if...
I just pinched nerve. I had gone to chiro, maybe I lifted a table or carried too many chairs or whatever it was, and just, I'll go see a chiro and he'll work out the neck and the back, whatever it is, and went to massage for a couple weeks, and the feeling was like you hit your funny bone, like you whack your funny bone, but it was only fingertips and just starting in the toes. So again, pinched nerve, right? And my mom's a nurse, and I probably pinched nerve, and Carla, pinched nerve, and did all the non-invasive medical end of it, and it just kept getting worse. Started getting up to the ankle bone, started getting into my wrists. At which point I'm shooting 92 instead of 72. And then, kind of once I had that feeling permanent that it wasn't going away, and chiro wasn't helping, massage wasn't helping, Carla said, reach out to your mom and see what's up. And so anyways, my mom made a few phone calls to some local docs that she knew, and and then started the process, and that was kind of mid-October-ish, right when our first child was born.
So in the midst of your first child being born, that's when you found out what exactly was going on?
Yeah, so Cole was due, or our first child was due late October, around Halloween. And so now, gone down a couple times in hockey, and I think I need to go get this checked out before I play again. Don't worry, boys, I'll be back. Then Cole was born on October 16th. And we had a bunch of medical appointments and that sort of thing kind of leading up to the 16th. And I'll never forget, we had an appointment on November 2nd, which was 3 days after the original due date of Cole. November 2nd, we went down to Hamilton and to get some test results. And that's when Carla and I's life turned upside down. My life turned upside down from an athletic, independent, able to do what I want when I want guy who had the world by the ass for the last 12 months, because I've got everything I've ever wanted in life now. And we walked in on November 2nd to St. Joe's, and we got a 2-week, it'd be 16-day-old baby in a little car thing when we walked in. We walked in, and the doctor walked in and said, "Well, Mrs. Miranda, I strongly suggest you get your affairs together, because I don't think your husband's going to be alive in 6 months." And done. Like the flood of, no, you got the wrong patient. Check the file. You got the wrong dude. I'm going to be here in 6 months, in 6 years, in 60 years. I got a newborn baby I got to take care of. I got a wife I got to take care of. I got a business, and I'm a good golfer, and I'm a good hockey player, and I want to play men's league baseball, and all that stuff. To have a professional, a medical professional, look you in the eye and say, "We're going to run some more tests, but tell your wife that she should make plans because you're not going to be here in 6 months." No words can. One different story if I'm 85. I've lived a good life. I've kind of been through what I want to go through in my life. But my first thought was, you got the wrong guy. You got the wrong guy. They said, "We're going to take Chris and do some more testing on him. We'll be back in an hour." And that was literally a 2-minute conversation. And Carla walked out with Cole, and being the...
And why was it that he thought, what was the diagnosis that you would have only given you that much time?
Yeah, so the ultimate diagnosis, which we found out about 4 weeks after that again, was Guillain-Barré Syndrome, short-term GBS. It's in the MS family. It attacks your myelin sheath, which is the easiest way to describe it, or so everybody knows, the cords that we're looking at is the outer layer of this electrical cord is a plastic sheet, and that protects all of the good messages being sent through the good wires inside this extension cord, call it. So that plastic sheet that is on an extension cord is your myelin sheath. So it's an autoimmune disease that eats away at the myelin sheath and therefore exposes your nerves. Therefore, the message doesn't get sent properly from brain to hands, feet, whatever you're trying to do. Therefore, you're not using your muscles accordingly, and then the muscles start to atrophy and that sort of thing. So that day when I was told I'm going to be dead in 6 months, they ran a one more test. They ran a spinal tap, and they took a couple ounces of fluid out of my spinal cord, and they found that the protein level was 2.5 times what it should be. And I'm like, great, I'll stop eating steak and eggs, right? I'm not a medical guy. I don't get it. I'll stop eating the protein and no more chicken, right? I'll live off pasta if I have to the rest of my life. And then I was quickly told that that's not the protein that we're talking about. And I, we went through that end of it. Originally at that November 2nd meeting, they were thinking some rare form of blood cancer. The blood wasn't coming back normal. They weren't sure what it was coming back. They just knew it wasn't normal. And that's why I had, and it is what it is now, a problem with the way it was presented to me. Ultimately, we ended up seeing a couple different doctors, and 3 weeks later, they said it's Guillain-Barre Syndrome. And again, I'm an athlete. I'm a college graduate. I'm a relatively smart guy. Great. What's this GBS thing you speak of, and when will it go away? Mm-hmm. Is it like the flu? In 24 hours, I'll be good to go, and I'm going to beat this thing. And then ultimately, the diagnosis of GBS can, and I think that's where the original doctor was going with the might not be here in a short period of time. It starts in your extremities and then works its way to the middle of your body. Once it gets to the middle of the body, obviously it starts affecting your organs. That's where everything is. Fortunately for me, it only ever got to kind of my shoulders and about mid-thigh, where it's pins and needles. And if anybody wants to know what GBS feels like, just go whack your funny bone and wait it out.
Wow.
24/7. We sit here today, Ben, and 24/7 I've got pins and needles in my hands, pins and needles in my feet. It comes in the extremities and then it leaves the extremities. There's two versions of it. There's a GBS version, which is quick onset, quick recovery, and then there's a chronic diagnosis, which is where I am, which is the short term is CIDP, chronic immune demyelinating polyneuropathy. Again.
Wow, you said you were kind of smart. You sound pretty smart to me.
Yeah, I wish I never knew what CIDP stood for, obviously, but and I don't really know what it still stands for, other than I'm 12 years deep now. This is me. This is now my new norm, and you get through it. You get through it. So
when you say new norm, specifically, how is that different? Like, to give people context to what we're talking about, like, what is that new normal?
Yeah. So your norm is you get up, you shower, you shave, you do up your pants, you do up the button on your shirt, and you tie your shoes, and off you go. That's cool. That's what majority of the world deals with. Because the hands don't function. The feet are one thing. I literally can't supinate my feet. I can't lift my toes, put the heel down, toe down, and push forward. The muscles in my legs and ankles have atrophied, and the nerve message isn't being sent properly. So I literally lift up my leg, throw it forward, and slap my foot to the ground. It's called foot drop. If I don't, I'll be on my face all day long. Now I've busted noses and broken hands from picking myself up. So the walking portion is lift the leg, throw it forward. And the body's an amazing thing. Nobody told me this is what you have to do. You just figure it out, because I got tired of falling. I got tired of catching my toes. I had a foot drop and falling down. The more difficult portion is in the hands. The hands don't work very well at all. The hands curl, the fingers curl like an arthritis. And you just can't, I can't move my fingers where I want them to without a lot of thought. For me to write my name on a piece of paper, sign my name, it's grab pen, adjust pen in hand with other hand. Okay, make sure I have a good grasp. Purely visual, because I don't have a lot of feeling in my hand, so I don't know if I'm holding it right or wrong. Once I visually see that, yes, that's how you hold your pen, then I can go ahead and write the name. The good news, bad news is good news is still shave and shower and look after myself that way. Like Carla always says, it's a different story when I got to start wiping your ass. So I'm still good there, fortunately, and fortunately for her. But zippers aren't an option, buttons aren't an option, tying my own shoes aren't an option. We were talking about, Nike and that earlier. Fortunately, there's a lot of cool shoe companies out there that make shoes without laces. So 90% of my shoes are slip-ons. Nobody, if you don't know me, you're none the wiser. Just go, oh, he's got cool shoes. End of story, right? Button-up golf shirts. The unfortunate part is that when I come to work at 5:30 in the morning, Carla's still sleeping, so I got to wake her up. She doesn't even open her eyes. She just kind of does the buttons and for me, and carry on. That's the bad news. I got to wake up my wife, and when I'm going in to work first, type thing. Our 12-year-old son has been an absolute godsend. We truly believe you're only given as much as you can handle, and unfortunately for Cole, he's had to handle a lot more than he should at 12 years old. No 12-year-old should have to do up his dad's shirts on his buttons. No 12-year-old should look to his 8-year-old brother to help him with the top button so that he can put his shirt on, to put a tie on, to go to a hockey game. That's dad's job. And Cole, I get emotional. Cole takes it in stride. Cole is, he's been a rock for us, just as much as Carla has, for me. But that's the tough part, is to have your 12-year-old son have to do stuff for you, and he thinks nothing of it. That's my dad. He doesn't think anything of it. He just does what he does to help out the family.
How do you come to justify that in your mind so that it is something that because obviously it is emotional, as I see, right? Like instantly and that's like you say, whether it's a father figure or mother figure, you have these roles that you knew of since you were 10, when you figured them out, or even younger, right? These assumed roles that aren't, that's another conversation of who should do what. But when you have that and then can't be, there's still the role there, but not to the 100%. How do you justify that in your mind, or how did you come to terms with that?
Yeah, I think coming to terms with it is better than justifying it. I still don't justify it. There is no justification for the why me question. I never have, and I never would say why me. I'm beyond that. So to justify it, I don't know if I ever will. I don't know if anybody ever can. Why did I get cancer? Why did you get hurt? I think maybe it was a bigger calling. Maybe I was going too hard, too fast, too much at the golf course, and this was our message to slow down and take life in a different speed, I guess. How do I deal with it with Cole? I don't want to sound cliche, but you just do. You just do. We're very open about me and what happened and how it happened, and we don't know why it happened, and all that sort of stuff. The difficult end is that father role.
Before I let it play out here and we hear what Chris has to say, I just thought I would add the idea, and we touched on this in a past episode, was often our frustrations, insecurities, anxieties, etc., not always, but can come from the space between where we are and the story we have in our mind. So the story Chris had in his mind initially was the father figure roles that are created through society and movies and etc. And that initially was an issue, that I can't do the story I always had in my mind. And that's, of course, where frustration can come from. Chris wasn't able to do something that is almost to believe to be innate, to have that father figure to teach your young children. So he just changed that story in his mind of exactly how that looked, exactly how that was going to play out. And that's how he was able to get back to, at the end of this episode, saying, yeah, I'm back to feeling like I have it all.
Is playing catch with my son in the backyard. The hands don't work, so therefore I can't get a baseball glove on because it's got to be tight fitting, et cetera, et cetera. I can't just go throw a football around the backyard. My hands don't work, so I can't grip the football properly. But it doesn't mean I don't go throw a football around with my son in the backyard. You figure it out. So instead of he stands at one end, I stand at the other, and us throwing, 20-yard passes to each other or going to the park and doing that, we run plays. So every play that we run in the backyard, I'm the quarterback, and I underhand lateral it. I two-hand pitch it to him. He's got to go beat his brother, or the Coop's got to beat Cole, that sort of thing. So you adapt pretty quick. The traditional, I'm going to put a baseball glove and teach my son how to throw a curveball, no, it's not happening. again, played hockey my whole life, played some high-level hockey. And this is where Carla truly comes into the picture, is she says, there's a lot of healthy people out there that don't do half the stuff that you do with our kids.
To me, this was a call to action. What are we doing with what we have in relation to the impact we want to make? And everyone loves to say they want to make an impact. Often I feel like even my generation especially is, I want to work, but I want to make an impact. What do you want to do for a living? Make an impact some way. So we're always looking for the perfect set of tools and the perfect situation to make that impact. But here Chris is limited with his resources. He's limited with his ability, even his physical ability to do catch, to do sport, to do whatever it is. But he's now making more with less. And it's that, to me, that I took that as a call to action. So personally, I want to make an impact in a bunch of different social circles in life. I don't have an impressive academic background. I don't have a bunch of monetary capital. So if my resources are limited that way, how am I going to continue to try and create? What am I going to do to continue making that impact with the limited ability I have? And I'm not comparing my story to Chris's. It's just that call to action. More with less. We can still make an impact. We just have to find a way. We have to get creative and maybe alter that story we have in our mind.
We built them a backyard rink for our son. We had a nice sized yard, so we built a backyard rink. Man, did I want to go out and skate cones and shoot them and teach them how to shoot and all that sort of stuff. I grew up playing hockey. That's what I wanted to do. I couldn't. So if you can't, what are the options? The option is sit in the living room and watch TV watch football on a Sunday afternoon while my son's out in the backyard skating, or I can sit on the boards and with a hold on to a stick and pass him the puck, and he can work on one-timers, and we do lots of that. And as he got a little older and he get the puck off the ice, that sort of thing, we Carla again had this epiphany. And my birthday's in January, and on December for Christmas, I got half of a set of goalies equipment, and for my birthday in January, I got the other half the goalie equipment, and I'm now the goalie. Can I teach my son how to skate, shoot, and pass? No. But you know what? I honestly believe that the children don't care if their dad's teaching them how to pass or shoot. I honestly believe that Cole cares that he gets to spend time with his dad playing a sport. So I'm the goalie. I didn't play goalie at all my whole life. We spent a whole bunch of money on full goalie gear. I go out on my knees. I slide over. I got the full mask, the blocker, the trapper, the whole getup, the jaw. I got the full pants, the whole deal. And now he invites his buddies over, who are now 12, and they can hammer it. And Chris, come out and play hockey with us. In the moment. The moment that Cole said to me in front of his buddies, "Dad, will you come play hockey with us?" I was playing hockey with my son, and that's how you get through it. You just do it a little different. That's all. I'm not disabled, as they say. I'm differently abled. I'm able to play hockey with my son, just not skating. But I tell you, I think they do two things now that they're 12. I think they love the fact that they've got a goalie to shoot on that covers a bunch of the net.
They're hard to come by. Goalies are hard to come by.
And I think that they love shooting at the cup and the helmet. And if they hit either one, they think it's the greatest thing in the world. So, and that's why I say Cole truly has been a gift for Carl and I, because that's just Dad. It's not. He has no shame in, Dad walks a little slower. Dad, can't throw a football like this guy's dad or that guy's dad, that sort of thing. And then last year he said, "Dad, will you coach me in hockey?" And now I'm the assistant coach for his team.
Nice.
Yeah, you just do things a little different. That's how you deal with it, I guess.
Right. I almost wonder if it's all good. It's happened before on the podcast. I enjoy, again, that real conversation, right? And the honesty. I see it's that I'm realizing in myself personally, but also other stories on the podcast and other guests, is the exposure to certain things that we shy away from because we don't understand them is it, I think it's a detriment to us in a way that we don't even consciously realize. Like
you hit it on the head, Ben, is the exposure to what is no longer norm and the acceptance of that. Yes, society, there's an acceptance in society now for all of those things that you mentioned, race and equality and all that stuff. And it took me a long time to get there. It really, really did. And again, I'm probably going to say I was probably 2 years sick, 2 years deep into this new life that I lead. And again, Carla, one day said, enough of you being miserable, enough of you not being happy. And we had probably our only any sort of major disagreement in our relationship, which has been great. But her saying, it is what it is, and I hate that cliche, but truly, there was nothing you could do about it. And she opened my eyes to the opportunity that I have instead of the illness that I have. She said, you can sit in your office and you can run the business and do all your paperwork and all that sort of thing. Or we see 30,000 people come through the golf course every year, or you can be out front, out public. And as people get to know you, maybe they're going to feel a little more comfortable to say, hey, or they're going to say to her, what's wrong with Chris? He's limping, or his hands don't seem to work, whatever the case may be. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say, go ask him. Oh, I'm not doing that. Why? Because it's faux pas that somebody's not doing something as we expect, whatever that norm is. I don't like that word norm very much anymore.
Me either.
They're not doing what everybody else is doing and the way they're doing it, or the expectations of them doing it that way. So I'm going to start sending people over to you and say, go ask them. And she did exactly that. And it took a long time for a lot of people and members that we know that are here quite regularly that should feel comfortable coming and ask me questions. They wouldn't come and ask me anything. And I'm not talking about that. That was 10 years ago, 2 years into the illness. The bright side of that, I got to a place via Carla saying, you have an opportunity. And it's not a, yes, it's a negative in the fact that you can't, run, throw, catch, skate, that sort of thing. But it's not a negative that you can reach out to 30,000 people. And if 5 of those people ask you a question, and out of those 5 you help 1, isn't that a benefit? Haven't you done something with what you've been given for a greater purpose? Mm-hmm. And it was at that point that I accepted where I'm at, and this is what it is. At that time, I was still thinking it was 2 years later, I was still thinking it was a 24-hour flu, and this thing will go away, but a couple grab-alls never helped. So that was a big moment, the big moment of acceptance that I have an opportunity to educate people about something that, unfortunately, I now know about. No idea what CIDP meant, 13 years ago. I thought GBS is what I plugged into my phone to get me to directions. Right. And quickly realized I was wrong there.
Before we move into the next story, because it's incredible, and I think I know where you're going with it from what we chatted about. Yep. Before we go to that, like what we just talked about with that acceptance side, did you ever have a situation because of the way you may appear or the way you may do things, which, like you said, is different than the norm? Have you ever had or run into situations where people were condescending in a way and you've had to work through that? Or have most people been pretty accepting of...
around here at the club, no, it is what it is. Looks, it amazes me, back to the acceptance of whether it's LGBTQ or, race or whatever it is. It still blows my mind as recently as yesterday that the looks and stares that you get. And I just kind of carry on about my business. And because I walk the way I do, it's very People look at you and then kind of right away they look towards your legs because I'm walking funny. Coached, my son's game a little while ago, locally. And and I won't say the arena, and as I was walking back from the bench after the game, the rink attendant looks down and goes, "Oh, walking like the funky chicken, eh?" No idea what's wrong with me, and whether he thinks I stepped in a puddle or I stepped in some gum, trying to get the gum off my shoe, whatever. But his immediate, and that was like a week ago, that said, "Oh, walking like the funky chicken, eh?" And I had another scenario where just walking along, it was the day after it rained, and a younger person, just a regular green fee player, I was walking by and goes, "Oh, you got a soaker, huh? Trying to shake that one out." So if I don't know people, I'm kind of not bringing up anything about the way they walk, talk, walk backwards, or whatever it is, right? So I'm at the point where I just kind of snicker and say, unfortunately, for that person, they're not quite where most of the world is now. They're not there to say, "Hey, that guy looks a little different walking. Maybe I shouldn't say anything." I'm probably better to not say anything, but people don't do that. The stares are exceptional that you get. You get them all day, every day. You just kind of go, people stare at. You know what? If I see a guy walking down the street with, purple hair, you kind of do a double take. Why don't I do a double take when I see a guy with brown hair? So it's just, that is the way that person is. For whatever reason, they can do what they want, how they want, when they want.
Yeah, it was interesting. On a couple episodes ago, we were talking specifically about the race point of that, of people wearing certain things that align with their culture, religion, whatever. And it goes back with, if you have no idea what it is at all, and you've never seen it or you know nothing about it, you're going to look naturally. That's human nature, right? We're curious. But then if you've taken that 2 minutes one day maybe and say, "Hey, why do you wear that?" Or why do you, whatever your schedule is, or when you go pray, or whatever it is, if it's religion, once you have that understanding and you see it, it's okay. And now there's no issue, there's no confrontation, there's no negativity, it's just okay.
But that society, I find today, and this is a grander conversation, but unfortunately that society today, people are so afraid to have that conversation. And that's why this podcast program that you do, Ben, is so good, because it opens people up to one-on-one conversations. But and I've listened to some of them that you've done, but the reach that is out there. Yes, today is a one-on-one, but there might be 4 people. My family listens to it, and your family, and that's it. And or it could be 4 million. And of that 4 million, if we can reach out to one person, but why as a society are we so afraid to have an honest conversation about what is going on in life and in the world, for that matter? Somebody asked me a question, and the easy answer is always, "Well, I'll just run over to the pro shop and grab that for you." And the members right away are, "I'm pretty sure you're not running anywhere," right? So, and that's great, and that's real. And I'm okay with that stuff, because it is what, you're right. I'm not running anywhere. And I'll joke, and I'm just going to walk to the pro shop, which is 50 yards from where we sit right now. And I'm like, "I'll be back in an hour. I'm just going to grab it and come right back." So you get to that point where humor kind of helps cure some things, but I wouldn't have gotten there without Carla saying, it is what it is. And early on, people kind of staring at me and me being a little embarrassed about it, and not wanting to go out in public, and not wanting to go to the grocery store or the bank or whatever the case may be. But once she said, "You have an opportunity," I'm like, "All right, yes, I do."
Here's where I realized, when our journey is altered, or we don't get somewhere we want to go to, or something doesn't work out in our favor, if we are able to pivot, and I know that's a cliche term in this example, I think pivoting isn't knowing what you're going to do. When something doesn't work out and people say, "Oh, you just pivot and go to something else, another door opens," all those cliches. I've realized that to pivot, you don't necessarily need to know where the next step is, where the next road leads. It's more of just pivoting, looking for opportunity, taking advantage of opportunity, scavenging for something, and then going down that road, see where it leads us. Chris had no idea where going onto this road of supporting others was going to go, but he was ultimately able to save the quality of someone's life.
It was a light bulb moment, or the opportunity to teach and educate people of what's out there. And I didn't see myself as that guy, because to me it was the 24-hour flu that was lasting 2 years that wouldn't go away. And I got a phone call here at the club, and I'll probably break down again, so apologize early again. I got a phone call here at the club one day from somebody that we know, and they knew of my situation and had asked the questions. They had asked the questions, are you okay, and what's happening? And a friend of theirs, their son was in school, high school, and he was experiencing pins and needles and that sort of thing, and he's a football player for a local high school team. And they said, you know what, maybe it's not he got hit. Maybe it's not from a football injury that the doctors can't diagnose, and maybe you need to get it checked out. And both parents and child were, I'll be fine. It'll go away. And as it progressed, my friend from the club called here and said, are you okay if I gave them your name and number? And I said, absolutely I am, and please do. And the mother had reached out and said, I don't think so, but I don't think it's that. I think it's just an injury, and she was promoting the same story that I had heard. And I said, please, there is no harm. There is no harm in asking the questions. You need to go. The symptoms are identical. They came out of nowhere. Fall onset, which is another topic about the disease, but majority of the GBS illnesses are fall onsets, and of course football season's in the fall. And I said, just do me a favor and go to your doctor and ask the questions. Tell him what this is and what that is. And she called me back next day and said, oh, the doctor thinks football injury, etc. I said, that's wonderful. Now you're going to the hospital, you go in the emergency room, and you're not leaving. You're demanding a spinal tap. You're demanding to know what the protein levels are in the spinal fluid. Well, he doesn't eat a lot of steak and eggs. And I'm thinking, yeah, no shit, neither did I. And I said, and through my online doctorate degree that I have teaching myself, I had to explain the protein levels within the spinal fluid and that sort of thing. And I said, you walk in and you don't leave. You don't leave until you get answers. You don't leave until you get that test done. And as it turns out, they did. They went, they demanded the tests, and he was diagnosed with GBS. They caught it. They figured there was about a month where it had started. They caught it. They treated him right away with the treatments and IVIGs and that sort of thing. And 6 months later, he's perfectly healthy and gone, and no residual side effects, etc. And I still hear from that now 25-year-old today. But when he was 16, if I wasn't willing to open up, if I wasn't willing to tell my story, like we're doing today, if my wife didn't say to me, get your head out of your ass, you have an opportunity, I don't know if I ever would have had that conversation with the mother, and there would have been a now 25-year-old that would have had to figure out what his new life looks like. And through conversation, through education, through the acceptance of what has happened to me, that person can now do what people would call normal. He can throw a football around properly with his son or daughter one day. And if there's only one person, isn't that what we're here for? Isn't that why we're doing what we're doing on this earth? The greater good, the greater calling of helping each other and understanding each other. If I wasn't willing to open up the member wouldn't have asked me the questions. The member wouldn't have been able to say to the neighbor. The neighbor wouldn't have called, and hopefully this young guy can pass that on. Hopefully he can take that to, hey, you got pins and needles? Hey, you're feeling this? And maybe it helps somebody else, right? So I think that it might be a one-person side effect. It could be 10 people.
Exponential,
Could be 10 people that we reach because of it. Could be 1 million people that we reach because of the podcast, and somebody goes, oh, hey, it's September.
Yeah, maybe it's through verbally instead of just the podcast.
Yeah.
Right? You never know how the messages get.
Yeah, so for me to, and when this guy calls, and it always seems to be right around mid-October, which is when his diagnosis was, he always calls just, hey, how you doing? And
nice.
and you know, how are you doing type thing, and how's university going, and that sort of thing. So he could have been a, you know, thanks for the info and see you later, but he stayed in touch and still reaches out, which is
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty big. It's pretty big. That helps me. I got to admit, it helps me, right? It provides purpose, and you know what? Yeah, don't shut down just because, right? It's
that's cool. Do you know, again, with your online degree of this disease, I guess you could say, do we know how it's changed from when you were diagnosed to today in regards to the potential for healing before it's too late? Or
so again, the two versions: GBS, quick onset, quick recovery. But in that quick onset, it is extremely quick in the sense that paralysis probably does set in, because it's so fast that you can't even get a diagnosis, or it's tough to diagnose early. Respiratory issues, could end up in the hospital on a respirator, and then kind of fight through that end of it, and then you come out on the other end with less residual side effects. But that's got to be caught quickly. On the CIDP side, it's a lot slower. Therefore, my doctor's appointments were further spread out. So it's a longer process, timelines to get to my state, and then a longer timeline to recovery. Potential of recovery within, call it 3-4 years of diagnosis. I'm 10 years deep. I've accepted that, in the morning when I can't do up my pants, I'm fortunate that Carlo kind of fumbles around in the dark a little bit, and and then I get to go to work happy every morning. And so it's I'm gonna delete that from the podcast. So I've accepted that's what it is. That's so for me, no, I'm all likelihood, here's where I'm at, and that won't change much. I still go to London Health Sciences once a year. They test nerve conductivity and all those sorts of things, but it doesn't really change. Real quick story on that, just to give you an idea of nerve conductivity. They stick basically an ultrasound or a acupuncture needle in some part of your arm or hand, and then they stick another acupuncture needle somewhere else, and then they connect electrodes to them and they shock them. And they see how long it takes for the message to go from one needle back to the other. Well, on a normal functioning body and nerve conductivity, it's level A. That's where they start. And the message goes real quick, just as you're about to drop your keys. Oh, you grab them. It's that quick. But each level they go up, to B to C, they send a harder, stronger shockwave. So if you get to the level where I'm at, and they stick a needle in your finger, and then they stick the second needle in your funny bone, so right away we're cringing, right? Now they shock it. You want to talk about pain? And they go, oh good, we got messaging. I'm like, yeah, no kidding, you're on level H. I'll never forget it. Cole and Carla came with me the one day, and they're going to do this thing, and they're zapping it, and I'm at level H, and from my waist down is bouncing off the bed. That's how much pain. Imagine sticking a needle in your arm and then somebody shocking it. That's how they measure, are you getting better or not getting better? I'm still the same level, so Whenever my doctor's appointment comes up, I generally get a cold and try to defer so I don't have to get zapped. But Carlos seems to make me go every time. But the whole side, yeah, it's crazy. But you get to that, talking about acceptance and all that sort of thing. You get to that level of that's my gig. That's what I do, and dealing with it. It takes a long time because people have this persona, this perception of what should happen next in your life. For me, I was at that next level. I got married. My wife's pregnant. I own my own business. I own a business that I'd worked in since I was 11 years old. Life doesn't get any better. I'm on this path to exactly everything I've ever wanted and dreamed of, and then it throws you that little curveball.
And so, where would you say you are today then?
I would say I'm back where I was to pre-diagnosis and pre-illness, minus the sports. I don't play men's league, obviously.
But in a mental state, where, from what you talked about at the start, where it was more your feelings and emotions and not as much the specifics about life, it was that emotional side. And today, what is that like?
I would say every day would be different. Some days are great days. Most days, I shouldn't say some days, that'd be a wrong term. Most days are great days. There's days that are a little tougher. There's days that I wish I could. Oh, I want to. Oh, I and it takes a half an hour to go, damn it, not happening. Man, I'd love for you and I to finish this podcast and go play 18 today. I'd love that. Can't happen. So we'll sit on the patio and have coffee and talk hockey or things like that. I think I'm in I know I'm in a much better place for opening up, for being honest with myself and honest with my family and Carla and the kids. I don't know if I would have gotten there as quickly as I did without opening up. I don't get me wrong. There's 10% of the time where I'm like, I really need X, whatever X.
What's the trigger then that gets you back to
kids.
Okay, life?
My kids.
Okay.
My kids.
What if I don't have kids and I get myself in that position? Go out and have kids?
Yeah. For me, it's the kids. And everybody's going to find their thing. Everybody's going to find their, maybe it's a spouse. Maybe it's a parent. Maybe it's a player on your team or a former player, a player on another team. But
you find it's a human connection.
It's a human connection. It is. And when I say kids, for me, it's I can run a business. There's nothing wrong with my mind. I can do the accounting. I can manage people. I can manage staff. That's whether you're gay, straight, amputee, whatever, anything. Your mind is you can do that. That's irrelevant. I can do all that, or GBS, or I got the flu. I come to work. Like, that's running a business. I can run a business, and often I find myself saying, I have that ability to run a business, to be successful at that business, which obviously pays the bills at the club, but it pays the personal bills. Therefore, I can provide for my kids so they can play baseball or hockey or guitar lessons or whatever the case may be. And I mean, not that I have to take care of Carla. Most adults can take care of themselves, but you want to be there for each other, for your spouse. You just look at it a little different. Instead of me being able to throw a perfect spiral, you know what? I'm gonna teach you to throw a perfect spiral. Instead of having my children learn through observation, they're gonna learn through trial and error. So we go up to the driving range and we have long drive contests. And in order for us to have a long drive contest, obviously I'm not hitting like I want to. So as most 8-year-olds' minds work, there needs to be an altered state in which the adult can't perform at their peak. So because I don't have a lot of stability in standing because of my can't feel my feet, etc., the long drive contest is Daddy has to hit from his knees. Great. In the 8-year-old's world, that's just Dad hitting from his knees. I probably hit it better from my knees because I have more stability on my knees than I do my feet. But so again, they're enjoying hanging out with their dad, doing whatever it is that we're doing, whether it's mini putt or backyard or at the arenas or ball diamonds, golf course, whatever it is. So I don't think it has to be kids. For me, it's kids. For me, it's Carla as the driving forces. But everybody finds their thing, whether it's family, friends, sport, social, music, art, or whatever it is, right? Everybody has that calling or that
it's interesting
motivating
that it's
factor.
Because on this, so far on a bunch of these stories is people have briefly talked about, it was great that my parents were there, my spouse was there for me and whatnot, but then they usually attribute it to something else or some other situation or hobby or something. But to focus really on that human connection and rely on that, I guess not everyone has those relationships, but it's full circle going back to what we said. You also build those relationships through what we talked about, right? Is that openness and acceptance, which is, that's pretty powerful, that it's, we are in it together, like you said, and we're here, there's the bigger purpose concept. I think that's something to take note of, that it's not necessarily, we look around for distractions or hobbies or something that can take us away or to chase something more so, but what if it's staying where we are, but having that human innate connection with someone that helps fill that void or help soothe things over, however you want to put it. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. And another story that had nothing to do with a person being ill. It had a little bit to do with my illness, but it was about perspective. We had a member here years back, and they were playing in club championship, so the members major, etc. And this particular member had wanted to win club championship for years, and he's a very good player, and he had a one-shot lead on 18T, 36T after 2 days. He's got a one-shot lead over another very good player. Turns out he hooked it into the pond on 18, made double. The other guy made birdie. He wins by 1. So we're done in scoring and prize presentation and dinner, and we're sitting on the patio having a drink afterwards. And this particular member went on and on about how upset he was that he had the opportunity and he blew that opportunity. And in the first couple of sentences were, the more you're there, the better you'll get in those situations, that sort of thing. You got to be there to feel that and get there and that sort of thing. And he kept going and he kept going. And it was to the point of him feeling sorry for himself that he lost club championship when he had a one-shot lead on the tee. And this is about a half an hour deep into this, at which point I kind of snapped and I looked at him and I said, "You need to fucking stop right now." And then there's some members sitting around. I probably shouldn't have swore, but and he kind of perked up a little bit. And I said, "You have no idea. You have no idea what you're doing." And he kind of thinking I'm talking golf with him. And I said, "You just went out and shot 72, even par, 36 holes to lose club championship by 1. Do you have any idea what I would give right now to go out and shoot 172? And he went dead silent, didn't say a word for the rest of the 20 minutes that we were sitting around. And he actually didn't go to work early the next morning. He came in the next day and said, "Miranda, I needed that. I needed that for you to sit there and look at me and say, it's just a golf tournament. It's not the Masters. You're not winning a $1.6 million. Here's your club crested golf shirt for your great 2 rounds. That's what we're playing for here." But to put it in perspective of, hey, you know what? And I had played with this guy when I was healthy, and he knew I was a good player and that sort of thing. But to put that in perspective, and it had nothing to do with him being ill or anything like that. So to take life a little less serious, a little less uptight, because at the end of the day, it's just club championship. It's just golf. I struggle with somebody coming into the pro shop and saying, it took me 4.5 hours to play golf today. That's ridiculous. Okay, see you tomorrow. Well, no, aren't you going to do anything about it? No, I'm not. Because you know what? I would love to go out and play in 5.5 hours and have the ability to do that and play with my buddies and that sort of thing. So I've always been, like I said earlier, I've always been a perspective guy. Things have always been in perspective for me. So if it takes you 4.5 hours instead of 4:15, is that 15 minutes a huge deal? Because there's lots of people in life that don't have those 15 minutes to do that activity that you enjoy, hanging out with your friends at a beautiful golf course in a 20-degree day, and they hear the birds chirping, and on and on and on. But 15 minutes, is that important to you? I would love to have that opportunity. So there's those moments. There's those moments where it's not so much feeling sorry for myself. I feel sorry for the healthy, for the lack of a better term, people that don't get it, that don't understand that, slow down, man. Just slow down and enjoy what you got. Enjoy your family, enjoy your friends, enjoy that you get to play golf, that you get to play hockey, you get to, and not because I don't, I just think society needs to slow down and get to know that person a little more, a little better. I could probably rhyme off the majority of my staff's, if not all of them, their spouse's name, and do they have kids or grandkids, and you have to have that human connection. If you don't have, what are you here for? If you don't have that connection, what is your purpose? And if we don't have purpose, what are we doing? What are we really doing if we don't serve that calling? And when I say calling, I'm not a big I owe everything to God, and I just think that they need to, people in general need to get to know Ben Finelli as a person, get to know that Ben Finelli is a good guy and not a former hockey player. I had the privilege of listening to Pinball Clemens give a speech, and he started out with asking the audience a bunch of questions, and it resonated me. And this is going back 20 years when I was healthy, and it stuck with me then. And he said, I called out to half a dozen people in the audience. Who are you? He said, I'm Joe Smith, and I own ABC Restaurant. And who are you? And I own XYZ Golf Club. And who are you? And everybody had the same response to who are you, and their responses were their jobs. Who are you? I'm a chartered accountant for Ernst & Young or whatever it was. And he never asked me, and after about 6 or 8 or 10 of these, he said, all right, anybody want to know who I am? No, excuse me. He says, anybody know who I am? And somebody goes, yeah, you're a former running back for the Argos and a Grey Cup champion and a Hall of Famer. And he says, nope, you're wrong. Next. And the whole room goes silent. Like, no, that's exactly who you are. And nobody would come up with anything else. And Pinball says, I'm a father. That's who I am. I'm a father. I'm a husband. That's who I am. I did football. I did Grey Cups. I did the Hall of Fame. But who am I? I'm not a football player. I'm a father. I'm a brother. I'm a husband. I'm a son. And that resonated. That through illness, I don't know if I would have gotten to that point. I think 12 years ago, when somebody said, "Who are you, Chris?" I would have said, "I'm a business owner and I'm a golf pro." No, that's not who you are. That's what you do. And like we talked about earlier, whether it's religion and getting to know about, why do you have to face the east when you pray, and get to know that stuff. And all of a sudden, it's not foreign, or it's not what's that guy doing and why are they doing that, and looking at them in a different way, right? We all put our pants on one leg at a time. Some of us just do it a little different. And some of them are fortunate enough to have their wives that have to do up their buttons for them.
That's a perfect way to finish things off. That's awesome.
That brings us to the end of another Heroic Minds podcast. I had a close friend, coworker, I don't like saying coworker because he's more of a friend, recommend that I should play a clip, or one of the most powerful clips from each episode, in the conclusion. So I wanted to take ownership for that idea, but it wasn't mine. So thank you, Trevor. And here is the first, conclusion with a piece replayed from the episode we just had.
They wouldn't come and ask me anything, and I'm not talking about that. That was 10 years ago, 2 years into the illness. The bright side of that, I got to a place via Carla saying, you have an opportunity. And it's not yes, it's a negative in the fact that you can't, run, throw, catch, skate, that sort of thing. But it's not a negative that you can reach out to 30,000 people. And if 5 of those people ask you a question, and out of those 5 you help 1, isn't that a benefit? Haven't you done something with what you've been given for a greater purpose?